Esper Gardens. Maybe we go to Esper Gardens and hold a focus group there at 6 p.m. The other thing I don't want to lose, and I think it's important for the purposes of this study, is I want to make sure we get a focus group of people who are looking in Shorewood. And I mean, we can leverage real estate agents, we can leverage each other. I personally know 3 youngish couples who have looked or are looking for housing in Shorewood right now. I think that's an important perspective to have, so I want to make sure we don't lose that in this process.
And I know people who are renting who want to buy.
Yeah.
I could give you names of people like that.
Yeah, we can put together a focus group.
All right, so
They're
this is,
opposite problems, as opposed to empty housing stock that no one wants to live in. We have too many people that want to live
all right,
here.
so sorry, let
And
me
that
be,
problem.
so I'm the one that started this conversation, but, and this to me is the problem with the housing, with this, not problem, the challenge with this project is there is no bottom.
Yeah.
That's why I think we always were looking for another community that had done one, because, you know, the scope can but we've already blown up the scope of this project by this discussion, which is not really what we asked them
Right.
to do. So, back to John's point, you know, maybe we need to take, I think it'll be interesting to see, obviously, when we have the meeting with them and their preliminary findings, but maybe we do need to take a step back and say, this is just the point of this project really was data. Pulling the data together to give us information, using the survey in the community to get some element of the community's perception. I don't know how that gets wrapped into this, and then some reach out to certain experts. And so I guess I'm coming back around as we've talked about this, because I'm getting worried that we've just created a completely different project for them and for you, that to stop and say, no, let's keep this small, let's keep this focused on the data and being able to answer questions about what the reality is, and then if we decide from there are things we want to do, whether it's dig deeper into this area with a focus group or something in a future project, we do that. But this is what
I like that
I
idea, because there are lots of things we could do,
yeah.
but at the end of the day, we don't have any base to start from.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think
I
that's,
agree.
to me, this is the base.
Yeah.
And as long as we communicate that to people, to say, this is not meant to be the end-all, be-all, fixing every problem that
Right.
people perceive in the village. This is just a starting point. We've never done a starting point. That's why we're doing
It's
this.
the base of the pyramid.
And this may
building
lead
up.
to other studies, it may not, it may lead to us making a decision or two, it may not. I mean, there may be no great answers for how to, convert renters to buyers, because we don't have any new housing we can build, I mean, it's a hard problem. I mean, it's a good problem, but it's, we're not talking about, I think you sent out an email with that study about
Yeah,
housing unit
yep.
starts, and there was they were talking about, which that discussion hardly even applies to this village.
Agreed.
Unless we decide we're
Right.
gonna start knocking down
Yeah.
one-story
Right.
buildings and building 8-story towers. I mean, which I don't
Did
think
you just say that?
which I don't think the village wants to see. Right, I mean, that's my point, like, I don't.
Tomorrow in the news, CDA proposes tearing one-story building.
Yeah, I'm not advocating that.
Look at the camera and say you're not advocating that.
But, that's the kind of thing that, in a different community, that could come out,
Yes,
to
yeah,
say,
right, it could be an option.
no one can live here, they have to move to other communities because there's nothing, we need to take this 100 acres and put some high density on it. Well, we don't really have
Well,
that
okay,
issue.
I mean, I agree with you guys say, but I mean, having gone through like a lot of surveys and stuff with people, including the community survey that we do every couple of years, I mean, who takes the survey? I mean, if we're gonna rely and say this is where we're starting from and this is data, and we're gonna hold on to it, we have to be smart about who is providing the data and are we really getting it? I mean, the groups that we identified, if we said we're gonna make an outreach and talk to Zedra and a bunch of other seniors and really give them this and ask them to do it, and if Dusty and other realtors can give this to, 20 or 25 families who are looking for housing. So, I mean,
Yeah.
You're right, we need to make sure we have a
Population needs to be right,
representative.
yes.
Because if we get 50
Yeah,
responses
if we're
to the
gonna
survey,
say
it's
this
gonna
is the
do
data,
us
this
a
is
bit.
where we're
But
starting.
again, this to me is
yeah.
not just the data, to
So
me the
what-
data is actually other, is like
Yeah, the
census,
survey is
I don't
just a
consider this to
survey.
actually be data, feel this is perception. This is
Um,
sort of the community's perception of what's going on, that informs it, but the data is to me, you know, the public, you know, sort of
I mean, no
the
different than the
officials.
community survey, it's not statistically sound. You know, we don't control, I mean, we can do as best as we can to try to get people to take it and go through those efforts, and we're committed to do that. But the data we're talking about really comes from
Yeah.
what's happening, you know, from the assessors and from like all the statistical data.
And that's the sales data, like you
Right.
said, and all the
You know, that's gonna come.
hard data,
Correct.
yeah. That's what I'm thinking about is the data.
Well, but most of that is available from the census. I mean, the
Yeah,
census.
but no one's
for-
pulled it together.
Yeah, that's
Right,
what
so
I'm
they're
supposed
gonna
to
be
be
pulling
that,
it together.
I mean,
I think it's pulling it
Bart
together.
could do that in a couple of days, so could I. I mean, that's, you know, but anyway, that's, yeah. I just, if we're gonna rely on survey data, I just want us to be really sure that because the community survey is like out there for whoever feels like responding to it. So people who have lived here a long time and are aware of what's going on, when you look at who fills it out, it's people who've lived here like 15 years or longer, who are higher income, who live almost exclusively in single. I mean, there's whole groups of people who don't know and don't care, wouldn't do it even if they did know about it, but they still live here.
Yeah.
So,
But single-family homeowners are a minority here.
well, yeah, but
They're
not,
not a
but in the,
majority.
but right, but that's what I'm saying, but they're the ones who fill out the community survey, so whenever people say, and people tend to take the community, but the community
But they're
said
also
that they want
paying the
this.
bills for the community.
I know.
They're the driving force in the community because it's their tax dollars that are
And-
being put to the most use.
And they vote, and they're politically
And-
active and they vote, which,
That's a percentage too.
yeah,
but-
which is, so I agree, but I'm just saying, when you're looking at the community survey, you have to keep in mind, this is not representative. And so if we're gonna really, if we're gonna take this approach, it's fine, but let's just make really sure we understand who's filling out the survey.
Well, I think there are, and I guess we can get to the survey now. To me, there are questions in the survey that will help us know
Yeah.
who's answering. So
Yeah.
then we can say, look, we don't have a well-rounded response, we need to go back out and try to get more, but, because I actually checked off some of the questions and then you bring up that actually helps figure out the demographic that's answering it. So actually some of those questions are probably
Oh,
important.
yeah, they are.
Yeah, there's
So,
lots of great-
sorry, I think we're back to, I know you were taking a lot of notes about what we were just talking about, but I think we're sort of back to, I just wanna make sure we're getting good feedback from all constituencies, and to me, that preliminary findings meeting is gonna be really, really interesting to me to hear what they come back with.
So should we go to the survey?
Yeah, let's go to the survey. So it's long, you know,
Some things are kind of short on it though, like I do
True,
think
yeah,
it's gonna
I don't
help us
think it-
hone in
the
on like
questions
who's
are
filling this
easy.
out.
they are easy, I don't think it's gonna
There's
take
a
you
lot of them,
long.
but it's not like you're reading 4 paragraphs.
Yeah.
Surveys.
I looked at it more as like, I took
That's the
it
other surveys.
versus
No.
reviewing it to see how I would feel taking it. Because if you make it too long, people don't wanna take it.
I almost think it, you know,
Yeah, there's a full package.
Because there's a survey in the packet
A
too, so
functioning connection to the sewage system, isn't
I
it?
agree. There's some things that need to go.
yeah, I think some of the, it's just, there are a lot of words in this. I think we could probably narrow it. You know, the questions are just long, and there's so many options to read through.
And I think selfishly for me, there's certain things that I wanna know that weren't in here, particularly if we modify the home loan program, I wanna know what people could spend that money on, and so I had made I have a couple questions here I'd like to add to it, but I want your perspective as well. So I guess, from my perspective, I wanna make sure that any actionable thing that we can do based off of feedback is at least asked in here, and to Joe's point before, like, I have been asked several times whether or not energy efficiency programs would help people, you know, stay in their house or do things like that, so I'm hoping that kind of question can be in here. I also, in our scope, we mentioned, short-term rentals or Airbnbs, whether or not that's impacting anything, so
That's good.
I'm gonna add a question on that perhaps.
Yeah.
So would you say we could strike question 6? That was the, you have a functioning wash machine, refrigerator, cooling systems.
Yes, I struck question 6.
Yeah.
What the?
That seemed weird.
Hey, I really wanna know. If someone has a washing machine.
Gonna be functional soon, alright? Jeez, you guys.
For purposes of.
Joe's still using a washboard, so.
Hanging his clothes out in the
It's very
backyard, your
old-timey.
neighbors are complaining.
For purposes of, again, housing is question 12, you know, have you experienced these, is that informative to a housing study? I mean, because we have, you know, we're asking, I guess, what's that gonna give us?
I mean, I think some are and some aren't, frankly, like, as I look down the list. No, I think the stuff that's informative might be rent, mortgage, utilities. I can see taking out a couple though. Like,
But who designed this? This is from the consultants,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
and
So
maybe,
why would we, you know, micromanage this?
And again, I don't know
People are
how it
gonna-
informs the study.
Well,
I'm sure in some communities this is a very relevant question,
yeah.
possibly for us, we might not.
So we have an eviction, some communities having an eviction problem.
Well, eviction's a
foreclosure
big
problem.
Yeah.
issue.
yeah, we have a lot of rent, I would say,
But we know that already.
I know, but I think eviction out of one of these would be one to keep in.
Okay. Landlord issues, who doesn't have landlord issues? Which landlords don't have tenant issues?
Yeah,
All right,
that's-
so you think it is irrelevant, there's important
Yeah, right now.
pieces of
on my
this
phone.
that should stay in? Okay.
I just don't think we're the experts in saying, you know, a specific question should come in
Yeah,
or stay
I
in or
guess.
go out. And
Yeah.
we're not the housing people, that's why we are hiring our consultants to.
Maybe with the exception of the refrigerator one.
Yeah, that was.
That was the only one that I was
pretty
like,
good getting rid of that one.
yeah, I think you're right, I shot myself.
Winter's coming up, you don't need a fridge, it's
Well, you know,
Wisconsin,
right, I mean,
old school.
what I thought, the washing machine, yes, I thought was relevant because a lot of the, like when you look at rental, we have a lot of older facilities.
Yeah.
You know, so they don't have washing accommodations, so that is a big deal when people are looking at where they're gonna rent.
What would we do with that data though?
But the refrigerator
what?
So then
Laundromat to open up?
So,
Yeah.
so then I get to questions like, questions 18 and 19. Now, again, so what groups need housing in the village of short of students? So this is again someone's personal view of what they think. So again, is that important? Do people care what I think? You know, uninformed me about what I think Shorewood should have with respect to the groups and the types of housing? It's not my area of expertise. I don't.
Yeah, but
What
we
is
don't-
that, again, what does that give it? So,
I think also in your discussion though, you've all wanted to ask people who don't necessarily have areas of expertise. Just because we ask people who wanna live here what they think they want, or why they have barriers to living here, doesn't mean that they're an expert.
right,
It just means that we're asking for their opinion.
And I'd like the
Everyone wants
the
more for
perception.
less.
Mhm.
I think just a
Yeah.
weird survey for him.
Yeah, I mean, I like the perception element of it too. I mean, it doesn't necessarily, it's just opinions, but I'd be curious as to whether there's this strong community perception that we need, you know, I'll just pick one off the list, student housing. I'd be
Yeah, we've
interested
never
to
heard
see
that.
that perception,
Yeah.
if it's out there.
well, okay. Then again, I just think it gets to David's point that, boy, we better make sure that the feedback we're getting is well-rounded
Yeah,
from as many
But
groups
just-
and people as possible in the village.
Yeah, but keep in mind, this is opinion.
Right,
We're gonna get facts too, so
Yeah.
we're just.
I do like, that's why I like question 10 actually, cause that is a fact. I mean, if you can get everyone to respond to that, and not just the people who spend less than 30%. But I mean, that
yeah,
would be
I
a
agree.
good,
That's a good, yeah,
that's
that's
a very
data.
good question.
Mhm.
Are
And
people
that
hanging on
can
by,
line up with census data, 'cause I
Yeah.
believe
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
very
And
much
it's-
census data availability as well.
and it shows exactly
And
how
if those things are
affordable,
way
exactly how affordable we
different,
are.
then that's interesting. You know,
With like 15, I had to put a question mark on 15, the needs facing special needs population, because there's so many different types, and this just seemed like something I would have a hard time, or I would check everything, you know, I don't know, this question just seemed difficult to answer, actually, to me.
yeah, it's covering
So many.
a lot
Yeah.
of stuff. That was actually my initial perception of. I've actually put together some online surveys back in my previous lives, and I wasn't sure if some of these questions are actually going to be exactly like this, because now you can have either or. So if you answer, "Do you live in Shorewood?" yes or no, that can lead to a question that if you say yes, it
Different
gives you
subset of questions,
two more
yeah.
questions that relate to you. If you say no, then it can take you to two more questions that obviously relate to you.
Mhm.
This seems very 1980, you know? Whereas now, SurveyMonkey, you can go create an amazing,
Yeah.
multifaceted, multi-path survey. And I don't know if that's how this is gonna work, or if this is actually just the way it is.
I mean, yeah, the issue is on a paper form, you can't do that, right? So if you have a paper form, it's gonna have to include everything. Yeah, the SurveyMonkey version of it definitely could be.
Oh, so there is gonna be the exact same version online and a paper survey?
That's my current understanding, but if we, I mean, we can definitely request for it to be, once again, subsets of, like, if you answer this question, we wanna know these answers. If you answer that way, we don't care. We're not gonna waste your time on these other ones, but for a paper survey, there's no way.
Yeah,
I mean, again, it goes to getting the response from all segments of the community.
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, if there's questions that we want specifically to ask someone renting, I guess we could identify that and they could build that into an online version of it. You know, renters versus homeowners, people who live here versus don't live here.
Yeah, this really does have no bottom.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yes.
That's the thing.
Because I'm
Or
just thinking in my
sides.
mind, okay, how many